Folks, more accusations against Congressman John Conyers. Of course, BuzzFeed dropped their story saying that he had settled a sexual harassment lawsuit that was filed against him by a former staffer. Well, he initially did not comment to BuzzFeed, but yesterday, the dean of the Congressional Black Caucus and also the dean of the U.S. House did admit to settling a harassment case with a former staffer for more than $27,000, but Conyers denies any misconduct. In a statement, he said, quote, "In this case, I expressly and vehemently deny the allegations made against me and continue to do so. My office resolved the allegations with an express denial of liability in order to save all involved from the rigors of protracted litigation." Now, House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi has called for a formal ethics investigation. Also, the Congressional Black Caucus released this statement encouraging Congressman Conyers to cooperate with any investigations and urging mandatory sexual harassment training for congressional staffers. Now, BuzzFeed also reported that it was earlier this year that a former staffer also wanted to file a suit against Conyers for sexual harassment, but the courts refused. She filed a lawsuit. This wasn't with, of course, with the congressional folks. This was an actual lawsuit, but because the documents would not have been sealed, she chose not to move forward with that particular lawsuit. And in those particular documents, she alleged, again, sexual harassment by Congressman John Conyers. He has not spoken about that particular story. And so we'll talk about that in just a second. But also, Charlie Rose, he is out of his 3 jobs less than 24 hours after the Washington Post reported 8 women accused the veteran journalist of unwanted sexual advances. CBS Morning Show, PBS, and Bloomberg all cut ties with the 75-year-old Rose. Of course, he was one of the 3 co-anchors on the CBS This Morning Show. Now, again, the firing took place on yesterday. 3 women. Also, according to reports, 3 women at CBS came forward alleging sexual misconduct. Now, Gayle King and Norah O'Donnell addressed the issue on Tuesday. Here's what King had to say.
What do you say when someone that you deeply care about has done something that is so horrible?
And again, the decision was made on yesterday by CBS to fire Charlie Rose. And as I said, 3 women at CBS came forward and said there were allegations of sexual misconduct. Now, Rose spoke to folks outside of his apartment, but he has not given any other statement other than the one they released on Tuesday, apologizing for some of his conduct, but denied some of the other allegations. Now, speaking of more drama when it comes to sexual harassment and alleged pedophilia, we'll go to Alabama. Roy Moore faces Doug Jones. Now there, what has happened, of course, yesterday, it was Donald Trump who finally gave his first on-the-record comment with regards to this Senate race. Now remember, you've had several of his officials who've come out publicly, like Kellyanne Conway, saying that, look, they need someone in that seat who is going to vote for Donald Trump's agenda. Here's Trump yesterday leaving the White House, flying to Mar-a-Lago.
We don't need a liberal person in there, a Democrat. Jones, I've looked at his record. It's terrible in crime. It's terrible in the border. It's terrible in the military. I can tell you for a fact, we do not need somebody that's going to be bad on crime, bad on borders, bad with the military, bad for the Second Amendment.
Mr. President, is an accused child molester better than a Democrat? Is an accused
Well, he
child
denies
molester
it.
better
Look,
than
he
a
denies it. I mean, if you look at what is really going on and you look at all the things that have happened over the last 48 hours, he totally denies it. He says it didn't happen. And, you know, you have to listen to him also. You're talking about, he said 40 years ago this did not happen. So, you know. I'll be letting you know next week. But I can tell you, you don't need somebody who's soft on crime like Jones.
So do you not believe?
Interesting. Trump, who also faced 16 sexual misconduct allegations, said he was proud of women who speak up about sexual harassment. Yeah, he really said this.
Women are very special. I think it's a very special time because a lot of things are coming out, and I think that's good for our society, and I think it's very, very good for women. And I'm very happy a lot of these things are coming out.
Really? Joining us on our panel, Greg Carr, Chair of the Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University, Liz Copeland, Founding President of the Urban Conservative Project, Spencer Overton, President for the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, and also, we'll be chatting with her in the next story as well, Judith Brown-Dianis, of course, Director of the E-Advancement Project. Liz, what, really?
Of course, yeah.
Really?
No,
it's a proud moment for women?
It is not.
Mr. I can kiss him, grab him by the vagina.
No, it's disgusting to know that our president is sitting there, and it almost sounds as if he's minimizing this, like a pat on the back, good job that you went through the sexual harassment, the sexual assault, and you're now speaking out on it. I think it just demonstrates his inability to connect with the issues that are impacting America, and for him to say that he would much rather have, whether accused or confirmed, but believable pedophile, child molester, to politicize this issue is deeply disturbing, and anyone on both sides of the aisle should be speaking, everyone should be speaking out against this.
Spencer, this is the guy, first of all, more also has come out. His current wife, he admits to first recognizing her and having interest in her when she was 15 or 16.
Right.
When she was at a dance, when she was dancing somewhere.
Right. I mean, this is a major problem, and my question is really, does Donald Trump recognize he's a part of the story, right? He's a part of the story in terms of Roy Moore, but he's also a part of the story in terms of the culture
and
the election and his relationship with some women and some of the comments that he's made.
Well, you might be surprised, but I don't personally know Donald Trump, but I would assume that he doesn't. He doesn't realize that he has contributed and fostered this type of behavior as acceptable or something that we should turn a blind eye to or just let boys be boys. It's inappropriate.
I want y'all to check this out. Of course, we had Doug Jones on the show, and he, of course, he talked about, well, not necessarily, he focused on his campaign, but not really getting into this whole issue with Roy Moore. This is the ad he dropped on yesterday. Shelley, go to my iPad.
I'm Doug Jones, and I approve this message.
On Roy Moore's disturbing actions, Ivanka Trump says there's a special place in hell for people who prey on children, and I have no reason to doubt the victims' accounts. Jeff Sessions says, I have no reason to doubt these young women. And Richard Shelby says he will absolutely not vote for Roy Moore. Conservative voices, putting children and women over party, doing what's right.
Greg Carr?
Well, I mean, hopefully that ad will have some impact, but it probably won't. We know that Roy Moore will probably win this election, because this isn't about sexual abuse and sexual violence. This is about naked, raw power. Donald Trump is in his own fever dream. Let's just set him aside. He's mentally ill. He's got some problems. But the Republican Party needs this seat to push this agenda.
Well, that's Roy Moore. What about John Conyers?
Well, let's look at that as well. John Conyers is part of a congressional culture where the cover-up has been extensive. They've got slush funds for this kind of thing, and we see the CBC backing away from him. And so we see Conyers at advanced age probably needs to maybe think about transition of power. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing is a congressional culture that has to now withdraw. And if Conyers goes over, how many more? Because now they're calling, you got to open up these files. It may be a lot of people have to get out of Congress before this is over.
Judith?
This is a problem. I mean, they all fall down at this point. It's coming out. We're not going to see the end of it. I think we're going to see more people who are going to be accused but also convicted. And it's time for people to clean up their act. And Trump is, number one, the person who should clean up his act, admit to what he's done. We can't continue to have a society where women and children are preyed upon because of the power that men carry, especially white men.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
News One Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.